one of the great things about being chair of the Good Things Foundation is you get the really good jobs, or you get to pick the really good jobs. So the really good job I've got is to have a chat with Sue. And you know, I know you all heard a little bit earlier today about your, frankly, interesting. You know, your life. But could you tell us just a little bit about when you first came in touch with digital, and maybe give us a little bit more context about how that all came about?
Sure. Well, so if you weren't here this morning, I talked about how I left home in school at 16, got married at 20, 3 kids by 23, in a refuge at 25 for 6 months, and then kind of starting life again on a council estate in Brixton, bringing my kids up on my own. In terms of digital, I guess I was always quite geeky, so I always loved maths at school. So when I was thinking, okay, I've got to go back into education to provide a better life for my kids, I thought of maths. I did a maths course first, and then I really was thinking partly that I thought technology was very exciting and kind of technology is the future, and partly I need to get a good job to earn money to look after my kids. And I kind of thought with a technology degree I'd probably earn more money, I think. So that was partly it too.
So you did recognise that link between tech skills and jobs, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
It's an area I'm particularly passionate about, where I kind of think that when we talk about social mobility in the current environment, I say to every child, go and build your tech skills, because actually that's where the jobs are, and that's where they're going to be. So the impact that digital has had on your life, has that been a thread that's run through your story? I mean, look, you're now, what are you, Professor of Computer Science at Durham University? I mean, seriously, that's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I still can't actually believe that, because that was my ultimate goal, was to become a professor at a top university. So now it's happened. It's just like, oh, it really happened. Like, I did actually get there.
And I suppose, tell us a little bit about, there's 2 things I know about you. Well, 2 things I draw to the attention of everybody else. One is Bletchley Park, which is an amazing story. And the other one is Tech Mums, actually. Can you tell us a little bit about Tech Mums and how that started and what your motivation was there?
Sure. So, you know, I did a degree, did a PhD, became a lecturer. Excuse me. Became a lecturer and kind of applied for promotion any time I could. So I sort of, every couple of years I was getting promoted. And after, I can't remember how many years, I was head of department. And then I was head of department for 4 years. And then I decided to take redundancy from the university where I was working and kind of had to have a break, because I'd been basically working my arse off for a long time. And I thought, okay, so what am I going to do now on my break? What do I really care about? And I started thinking about how throughout my career, you know, I really love technology. It's massively changed my life, my kids' lives, kind of all of us really. And I see it kind of offering opportunities to everyone around me. But kind of in the media, technology is quite often portrayed as a bad thing, you know, like, I don't know, computers taking away our jobs, the robots taking away our jobs, all that kind of stuff. Always negative. And I thought I really want to try and do something to help everyone realise that there's a positive side to that as well. And, you know, technology will provide millions of jobs, particularly if kind of governments get on board and try and make that happen. And, you know, I kind of can see that in front of me, and I just wanted to try and do something to address that. So I kind of went back to basics and started thinking, well, you know, everyone should be learning digital skills. And I thought about what sort of skills would that be, and I was quite excited about things like app design and coding. So this is like 6 or 7 years ago. So I thought what I'll do is I'll try and run app design and coding workshops with kids to see if they can do it, because at the time there wasn't anything in schools like that. And if the kids can do it, then surely we can teach it to adults as well. So ran those workshops with 7-year-old kids. Went really well. The kids absolutely loved it. We got the parents in at the end of the day. And when I was asking the parents to get involved with what the kids were doing, so try a bit of coding, try, you know, designing your own app, I just noticed that the dads kind of just stepped in and had a go in general, and the mums would be much more hesitant and like, oh no, please, you know, I want my kids to do this, but please don't ask me to do it. So that just kind of sparked something in my head, and I thought, oh, well, maybe if I'm trying to get everyone to kind of upskill digital skills, to be more positive about technology, maybe if I focus on teaching mums digital skills, then actually that won't just affect the mums, it'll affect the kids as well. And so we don't just kind of teach one person, change one person. You know, every mum has at least one child, so then at least we're hitting at least 2 people with what we're doing. So kind of Tech Mums came out of that, really.
And where's Tech Mums now? I mean, it's a huge organisation, isn't it?
No, it's not a huge organisation.
No,
I wish it
in
was.
terms of the impact. I didn't mean
I
as in
think so, yeah. Well, so we started off, I put together a programme which is like teaching app design, web design, social media, staying safe online and coding in Python. We started off in Tower Hamlets, we were teaching in schools like 5 or 6 years ago. Schools had funding, and so they would pay us to come in and teach their mums digital skills. And what we noticed was that the mums' general confidence in themselves absolutely rocketed. So we knew we were kind of onto something. It wasn't just the technology. So that was great. We started partnering with different schools and organisations like Essex County Council. We went over to Dublin and taught in a college there. But then with all the austerity cuts, all the funding that we were going for just completely disappeared. So then we had to spend some time trying to work out, well, what do we do now? So we decided to do some online stuff. So we put together an online course, which is up online. And we also, earlier this year, partnered with Facebook. So we ran Tech Mums TV, which was like a sort of mums in tech chat show where we had mums coming in talking about their experience, and also people coming in talking about different types of technology which relate to not just to being an average person, but also some specifically to mums, you know, stuff about security settings and, you know, how to stay safe online, how to do online banking, all sorts of things. And so we found that we managed to engage with over 300,000 mums online. So we did get to lots of people. And we're just talking to Facebook now about running Tech Mums TV Season 2 next year in a sort of bigger and better way. So that's exciting. And we've just extended out our 5-week programme to 10 weeks. So we've put stuff in around how to find a job online, how to set up your own business, included that with the other stuff. And we're trialling that with Leeds Libraries, who are here. I think Jason and Claire here. Yay! So we're piloting with Leeds Libraries from January to April, and also with Hyde Housing in London, and with a partner in Edinburgh, to trial out the 10-week programme and to trial out working with libraries and housing associations, because I think that that's the way forward, and the aim is to scale it up kind of like big time after that.
And when you were talking about some of the challenges that you saw with mums, not walking towards the tech skills, but kind of doing that reticence thing. How did you feel about what the guys were saying about the research earlier, about why people were saying it's not for me? Was there anything within there that really resonated and was part of the experiences that you saw?
Well, I just think, you know, we have mums coming in, and like also when I ran the focus group right at the beginning, so it's like 6.5 years ago, in a school with mums in Tower Hamlets, getting them to come in and just chatting to them about, well, so would you do a course that's related to technology and computing? What would scare you about it? Why would you come along? And one of our mums said, I want to come because I want to build my confidence with technology. And she said, for example, I'm scared of the keyboard. She said, I know what all these letter keys are, like all the letter keys are. What are those F keys at the top? I'm scared if I touch one of those, something terrible is going to happen.
Something F's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Everything will get F'd up. So, thank you very much.
It took them a while to catch up on that one.
I should really go into stand-up. Yeah. No, I won't be.
You've done enough.
Yeah. So I think, you know, that kind of thing is really, really common. And, you know, I mean, I really did notice working with the mums in the schools that, you know, they kind of like almost have to force themselves to come in, and they're really, really frightened to start with. And, you know, like none of us like to look stupid in front of each other. And, you know, most people have not learnt digital skills. You know, and one of the first things I say, so if I'm teaching a class, I go in and say, look, I've got a degree in computing, I've got a PhD in software engineering, I've written loads of code. I don't know everything about how all of this works. And by the end of the programme, you'll be teaching me something, because there's so much to know. We can't all know it. So I think, you know, I really try hard to help everyone to realise in the class that even if they think that there's loads of stuff they don't know, there's loads of stuff all of us don't know anymore. And actually the kind of critical skills are learning how to find the information that you want kind of in a timely manner, and that kind of analysis around what is actually real information and what is, I hate to use the term fake news, but you know, what's real, what's relevant to what you're actually looking for, that kind of stuff.
And when you kind of look towards the future, what do you see in terms of the opportunities that are going to come from the digital space?
Well, I mean, I just think jobs to start with. I mean, there's so many great organisations out there that might be startups now, but that are just going to get bigger and bigger. So actually one of the guests that we had on Tech Mums TV was Charlotte Pierce, who's a great entrepreneur, who's one of the Forbes, I think, 30 under 30. And so she started this organisation called Inca Pact, which basically is, you know, like if you order some products online, you get handwritten notes in with the product. And her company basically employs people to write those handwritten notes and charges companies to provide them. So she has loads of mums working from home who can earn up to, she said, about £12 an hour sitting in their living room, even when their kids are there, writing out handwritten notes. And all they really need to do is to be able to write neatly and kind of interact online in a way that they can understand what's needed from, you know, from Inca Pact, and to be able to deliver that. And then, you know, they just get a box of stuff that comes in the post, I think, which they then sit there and write them all out, send them all back, and they can earn up to £12 an hour. So I think there's going to be more and more organisations realising that there are so many opportunities, things that we just haven't thought of yet. And it's going to, I think, revolutionise the workplace, because the workplace is going to be much more in the home rather than an actual workplace that you go to. And people that traditionally have maybe found it harder, like, you know, mums, found it harder to get out and go to a workplace to work 9 to 5. So there's just going to be millions of jobs for people like that as long as they've got digital skills.
And so you're not buying that narrative that says the tech is going to steal our jobs. You're
well, it's going to take some away. It's going to take
new.
some away, but it's going to create loads of others, and it's going to really empower. It's got the potential to really empower whole parts of the workforce which can't actually work at the moment.
No, I absolutely buy in that. And conversely, what are the challenges that you perhaps see?
In what way?
In terms of the digital skills. So is one of the, I mean, I look at it and I think one of the big challenges is, you know, I agree with you that it's going to create lots of jobs, but actually the risk of being left behind is so significant from the jobs market. I mean, I look at what's happening at the moment in schools, for example, and, you know, I was really delighted yesterday to be sitting amongst a group of people that were talking about the creation of the new National Centre for Computing Education that actually is going to properly tool up our teachers to be able to teach computer science. And, you know, listening to the Department for Education really accepting that, or actually advocating that, you know, computer science is a core skill, not just because about the technology, but because of the soft skills that come with it, you know, actually the computational thinking side. But if you have people who are perhaps, you know, are left behind and don't get those skills, the risk of divide becomes even more significant. So I suppose, are there any things like that you're seeing that you think, oh, actually that's one of the really big challenges, that, and how would we address it? How do we inspire people towards it?
Well, so, you know, I think as time goes on, we'll realise more and more how important this stuff is. I mean, you know, lots of us have been banging on about it for a long time, you know. Helen was talking about, you know, several decades earlier. So, you know, I kind of feel like we're in the know. Why don't these other people understand it? I really feel that government's got a big role to play in this. I really think there should be massive, and I mean really, really massive investment in training everyone in digital skills. Because if I can take mums that, you know, that maybe left school at 16, haven't done anything in education for 10 years or 20 years even, get them designing websites in a couple of hours, you know, that people have got potential. We just have to help them to realise it. And I think, you know, obviously I'm not in charge of the government, but if I was in, but if I
there
was
could be
in
a
charge,
vacancy very soon.
True, no, I just don't think I could take that on. Not as well as being professor at times. But you know, I really think governments need to recognise that they have to put massive investment into this area, and that, you know, there's enough people around that we could really make a big impact really quickly. But, you know, I feel like, you know, our organisation, Tech Mums, lots of organisations are struggling for funding all of the time. We're all doing amazing work, kind of like reaching really kind of grassroots groups of people and changing their lives a lot of the time. And I think there's so much more that we could do, but it needs massive investment and it needs kind of a very large scale approach, I think. So, you know, kind of back to the talks that we just had, really. And I think if that doesn't happen, we're just kind of like limping along really as a country, I think, you know, and unfortunately, you know, all the stuff that the government's caught up in now is just taking us away from stuff which is critical to our future as a country. And I feel like we're operating in a global marketplace now. If we don't upskill people in the UK, other countries are going to upskill their workforces, And in a global marketplace, that means that they will get all the jobs and we won't. So, I kind of feel like it's very time critical. And as time goes on, I get more and more kind of, worried about what's actually going to happen, particularly when we are taken up with other kinds of things. But I think, the government really needs to get on track and upskill everyone in the country and put funding into that and see how it would, I think, quite quickly revolutionise the way that we do things in the UK. It would empower so many people. And I think, we've got the expertise here to make that happen, but we need government support, really.
But I mean, there's lots of people in this room that are, like you, with tech mums, are actually at the coalface working with people today. How do we join those people together so the sum of the parts is more than the individual impacts? So are there any things that you would be saying we should be doing? Yeah, I agree with you. There is more to be done at a central level, but I think there's also stuff that we can do within ourselves. What would you be recommending?
Well, I think things like this, really, coming together, talking to each other, working out who you can partner with on different initiatives. And, also Good Things Foundation is in a good place to actually connect everyone together, I think. So maybe, Helen, you should be doing it. As an organisation, doing a great job already. Like we saw what you did in a year in Australia. That's absolutely bloody amazing to do all of that. And that's kind of from your expertise and background, and then, from great people in Australia, just taking that forward. So we can, and you said with lots of government support, right? So we need government support, we need funding, and I think the people are already here to make it happen.
Yeah, I think I'm biased, a bit like Helen, but one of the things that I think is absolutely amazing about the Good Things Foundation, and I talk about it all the time, is that network. Because actually the organisation is, the network is where the power is. It's all the community groups that are here, and actually, Good Things giving that extra bit of glue and impetus to enable them to do even more things. Yeah. Now, Anna's going to probably pull us off stage soon, so okay. I just kind of, one other thing I wanted to ask you about. So you're a mum, but you're also a grandma now, and you're incredibly passionate about the next generation. So what are your ambitions for them? What is it that you're seeing in terms of that technology-driven world that this next generation are going to be living in? What would you hope for them?
Well, just that what I really want is people to come together in groups and solve the world's problems. And I feel like, my generation, we're kind of having a go at it. We're also screwing lots of things up. Not me personally, obviously. But, the next generation have more grown up with all of this around them, so they can think of things that we can't even think of, like as a 50-something-year-old. There's things that I just wouldn't be able to dream of that my now sort of 3-year-old grandson will be able to do, by the time he's 10 or something. So, I really think that they're growing up in a world where there's loads of opportunity, and it's kind of up to us to nurture them, show them kind of what we've managed to do and talk about it, but talk about the world's problems and encourage them to solve those.
And I suppose you'd be saying to every young person, get those digital skills in terms of, learn how to make the website today, and make sure that you've got that within your armoury, because that'll be the thing that will enable you to actually, outside of the education system, just actually create your own business at 16 or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like my daughter, the youngest one's 14. She's taught herself how to be a hairdresser by ordering doll's heads from Amazon since she was 6. She's asked for them for her birthday and Christmas every year, and watching YouTube videos. So now at 14, she can do any hairstyle you want. Maybe I'll be getting orders or something soon for clients to come in. But kids know how to teach themselves stuff online. I think we're all naturally curious. I think our education system is a bit messed up in that it's kind of 40 years out of date. Kids are still studying in the same way, the same kind of stuff that I did when I was at school. That can't be right. I think we need much more digital awareness in teachers, so the new centre is great. But again, it just needs to be bigger and faster, to make it all happen. I think I feel like we're running out of time.
Now, Anna's looking far more relaxed than I thought she was going to be at this side. So I'm going to take 3 questions from the floor, because I don't want to let Sue go without really eking every single bit of knowledge out of her. Have I got 3 questions, maybe? Oh, one at the back. Is there any more? Might just be one.
I just wanted to use the blue cube. So,
Can we turn that mic on, please?
You talk about digital skills empowering people to find jobs. How do you find it shapes their identities using the digital side of things?
I found it amazing. So one thing that was slightly a surprise in how big the change was, that the mums that come on the programme, so our original programme is just like 5 two-hour modules, so it's just 10 hours of taught content over 5 weeks. And I was absolutely amazed, and have been right from the beginning, to see mums come in at the beginning kind of like very hesitant and go out at the end completely blossoming as different people. So I think it's very empowering. And if you've not been able to interact, find out anything really about how to do these kind of things, and then like you come on a program and at the end of it you can write a bit of code and you can understand what that means. You've produced your own sort of app design with some new friends that you've made, and you've designed a website in Wix or something, and a few other things, and you go out having done that. I think it really changes people's lives, in that they thought there was no way they'd be able to do that, and here they are and they've done it. So we had Brunel University set up a research framework measuring the mums going through the programme, and so the biggest change in the mums is not their technology skills, so that kind of increases, but it's their general self-esteem. So they really, really blossom and their self-esteem grows dramatically.
Are there any other questions in the room for Sue before we let her? Oh, no, one more. Excellent. At some point, somebody's actually going to throw that catch box. I mean, I know that whenever...
The schedule hit someone.
I always had that thing where I don't like asking questions anyway, but the thought of having to ask a question and catching that thing, knowing I was always the last one chosen on the netball team for the right reason.
Hi, my name's Gina from Buckinghamshire Libraries. You've been talking about empowering women in technology, but we still hear a lot that girls aren't selecting the STEM sciences in schools, and now you're, a professor at university.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done to encourage them at that younger stage to develop those science and technological skills?
So the thing is, there's lots of issues all the way through. So I think it's partly our culture. It must be our culture, because if you go to other countries, it's like 50-50. Men and women in tech. So there's something going on in the UK, in the US, in some countries in Europe in general. So we need to look at what that is, and actually that's part of what I'm going to be doing over the next year, is to travel around to different countries to see best practice of what people are doing around the world, so that I can work out what we need to do here. And one of my main aims is to get the number of women studying computer science at Durham up to 50%. So I don't know if we'll get there, but I'll give it a go. I'm going to Carnegie Mellon University in the US quite soon, and they've managed to do that. So that's my first kind of port of call. I think we need all sorts of initiatives all the way through, and we really need to kind of change the culture. I think we're sort of moving there. I think, with the whole kind of Me Too, again, Black Lives Matter, like lots of groups of people that were kind of disempowered, I guess, are becoming more empowered, and we're able to talk to each other. We can find each other online. I just love the fact that millions of people across the world can find each other through one word, like one hashtag. I just find that incredible, and I love it so much. And I think more and more people are going to realise how they can make things happen through connecting with other people that think the same way that they do. I don't think there's one initiative that's going to do, like Tech Mums is not going to change the world. We just need loads and loads and loads of different initiatives which target different groups of people in different ways. So kind of going back to some of the talks that we heard earlier, I think that's exactly right. It's not one problem that we've got, it's lots of problems, and we need lots of solutions. But I do think that we can make the change happen.
Any other questions? But I was just going to say, one in front. Just on that, Sue. I mean, one of the things I think that we particularly need for our girls is we need role models.
Yeah.
We need people that are willing to stand up, that look like them, talk like them, and they're able to aspire to be like. And I think too often the role models that have been put in front of young people, girls in particular, are the likes of the Sheryl Sandberg, that suddenly seems incredibly unattainable. Even to awesome people like you. Potentially. I mean, I think you probably could be like Sheryl, but you know what I mean. We actually need real life examples that girls can aspire to walk towards, and I think the more we can do to get those voices out and into schools, I think that will be really critical. One more.
Thank you. I was a bit of a provocative question, really, but just to follow on from the questions that we've just had. You've mentioned there about the role that government has to play, but do you also think, and I understand and appreciate that, yes, organisations are already doing quite a lot, but do you think there is a bigger role now to be played by companies and organisations to push forward some of the STEM agendas for young girls?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think any organisation with lots of money should be doing something about it, really. And so technology companies should be doing something. And I've kind of seen, you know, so I've kind of been involved in the women in tech space for 20 years now, I suppose. So I've seen, you know, the stats haven't changed in terms of women in the workplace, women in tech in the workplace, women in tech in universities. It hasn't changed very much at all. But the kind of whole atmosphere, the whole environment has changed, and we're not at all where we need to be. But I really feel that we are moving towards it. You know, like when I set up BCS Women 20 years ago, one of my colleagues at work said to me, "Why are you ghettoising yourself?" And I just thought, is that what I thought I'm setting up a lovely network for women to like chat to each other about technology, and he thought it was a ghetto. So I was just like, oh my God, you know, the way people perceive things is just so different. So I think companies now, you know, I do see companies particularly now funding stuff for girls in technology, and STEM, and funding like retraining programs to bring women back into the workplace. So it's starting to move. There's not nearly enough yet, but we're moving in the right direction.
And I can't let you close there without saying I'm Director of Digital Society at BT as my day job, and upstairs on the 7th floor we've got a large group of female returners upstairs doing our Tech Women course, and I have to say they are flying up there.
Cool.
With Code First Girls. So that's one of the programmes that we've been running, which is really exciting. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing today, but also thank you for sharing that story and for being the most amazing female role model you could possibly be as a woman in tech.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks.
I think we're back on.
What's next?
I think it might be you. Is it you?